happy to welcome her here so that she can help you all to understand this whole process a little better. So here one benefit is that you have me, a functional nutritionist who understands PCOS to a certain extent and help you, and you have Ansa, who's a sports nutritionist who can understand workouts and related nutrition. So please feel free to pick our brain at whatever point you want and ask any questions that come to you. I would like it to be an interactive session as well, because it's just us UV people. So let's try to make it as interactive as possible. Ansa, welcome to the session. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Neha. That was very sweet, and I'm really happy to see all of you. So like Neha said, if you have any doubts, please feel free to pick our brains, because that's something that we like when our people do that with regards to our area of expertise. So welcome, and thank you for having me here, Neha.
Anytime. So let's begin. I want to start with the most basic question that I get asked a lot. Right. So one is it okay to go for a workout in empty stomach? Because most of the people here do yoga. So, and as you know, many times it is said that yoga should be done in an empty stomach. While it does not work for everyone, some people get regurgitation and nausea and things like that, and does not work for them. So what is your opinion like on going to a workout on an empty stomach? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, so earlier having some food before you go for a workout was considered as a no-no. Like everybody would just say that, no, you shouldn't have anything. So the idea behind why that was said that, you shouldn't have any kind of food before your workout was because people are not used to having some food and then going for any sort of high intensity activities. And that could cause them to have stomach stitches, or they could have any regurgitations, or they could, feel nauseous and all. But according to later research, what we have found out is having something prior to going for their workouts will actually help with the recovery that happens after their workout, and also to make sure that they have sustained energy throughout their workout sessions. So let's say, for example, somebody is going to work out for more than 60 minutes, they definitely need some amount of carbohydrates in their meal before they go for their workout, because blood glucose levels start to kind of dip after about 60 minutes, about 45 to 60 minutes. And in that time, what happens is your performance will start to deteriorate. So with that in mind, it's beneficial to make sure that you have something in your stomach before you go for your workout. Now, there are some cases where it's okay even if you don't have so much of like a proper full pre-workout meal yoga. But when you're doing yoga, who can't eat a lot of food before they go for a workout, I would at least suggest that they have at least a small handful of some food, like even nuts, or even just a small vegetable sandwich or a toast would also be fine. Again, the concept is same, that it will help to give a sustained energy release, but this they have to make sure they're following it on a regular basis so that their body can adapt.
Got it. So you told already a few examples, right? Like nuts you can have a toast. How long should the workout be for you to be actually eligible to have something before your meal, right? For example, I'm doing a 40-minute HIIT probably, which is not a 60-minute workout. So in that case, should I have something, or can I go directly? So how long should the workout be? What is the intensity? How does it work?
Okay, so for example, you're going for a morning session. Like as soon as you wake up, if you're going for a session, you've already completed an overnight fast. Your body, whatever energy or whatever food you have had, that is actually went and is going to be stored in your muscles. So it'll take some time for your body to start breaking it down and, like circulate it in your blood. So if that is the case, and if you're going for a high intensity training, anything that is moderate to high intensity will require you to have some amount of food, at least let's say 15 minutes prior to you going for the session. So let's say you're having a high intensity and it's in the morning. And even if it is for more than 30 minutes, till up to 30 minutes, it's okay. Your body can still sustain. You won't feel tired. You can just have like sips of water, and that will actually sustain. But if you're going to do for more than 30 minutes or 40 minutes, what happens is start making you again feel nauseous, again can workouts. So if it is moderate to high intensity, I would advise to have at least have a fruit juice or a fruit, at least like let's say 30 to 40 minutes prior or 15 minutes prior. If it is something as a juice, you can have it even 15 minutes prior, because it's in liquid form. But if you're going to do a workout for more than 60 minutes, if it is for slow intensity, it's okay. If it is a slow intensity activity up to 60 minutes, it's okay even if you're going to do it on an empty stomach. But low intensity would mean when you're having a leisure walk. It's not even a brisk walk. So brisk walk also would, let's say it's a continuous 60 minutes of brisk walking, then you will have to have something. But if it is low intensity up to 60 minutes, it's okay even if you're not having any pre-workout. But anything from moderate to high intensity workout, and if you're doing it for more than 40 minutes, it is ideal that you have at least a small amount of pre-workout snack. And that should usually be something that's rich in carbohydrates.
Okay, got it. Can you give me some examples of the foods that you can go for? Like coming from like when you talk to clients, many of them are kind of scared of carbohydrates because it's not allowed for PCOS for to have like a simple carbohydrate, and going to work out. Sorry, and starting the workout with a carbohydrate rich meal might not work for everyone. It might feel like, what if I gain weight again because of this reason, right? So in that aspect, what are the foods that you would recommend that is ideal for a pre-workout meal? And is it like, as you said, 15 to 20 minutes before is the ideal time. So what are the foods that you would recommend?
Okay, so for cases where there are people who have, let's say, insulin sensitivity, or they have some issues managing their, sugar metabolism, like in case of PCOS or in case of diabetes and all. In cases of diabetes, there's actually two different guidelines. But let's say it is for people who are not on insulin. So if for people who are on insulin, the guidelines are completely different than other one. So let's say somebody who's in a pre-diabetic type 2 condition, or somebody who has PCOS condition. So in that case, what happens is, if you can have a small handful of nuts, if you can have something that's slightly more richer in fiber, let's say, for example, seeds, or let's say, for example, you're having makhanas, or what you can do is you can have a mix of carbohydrates plus fats. So let's say you have a multigrain toast with peanut butter on it, so that the fats will actually help with slowing down the digestion or the metabolism of carbohydrates slightly. Okay, so you will not have the sugar spikes that will happen otherwise if you're having, let's say, a simple plain toast. So that is something that you can do. So it again, the timing, if you haven't had a meal in the last 3 hours. Okay, so if you haven't had a proper meal in the last 3 hours, that means if you had your breakfast and you're going in for your workout after an hour or 2 hours, that's absolutely fine. Then you do not have to have another additional pre-workout meal. But let's say, for example, your last meal was around 12 o'clock, you had your lunch, and let's say you're going for your workout around 5 o'clock. Okay, so there is a huge gap. In that case, what they can do is either around 1 hour before they work out, they can top up with something that has a bit of fiber, a bit of fats and carbohydrates. Or if they're going closer to the like 15-minute gap, they can try and have a fruit which is readily available. Again, they can just make sure that they're having around, let's say, 100 to 150 or 200 grams of the fruit. Okay, so a small apple or two small oranges. Okay, they can try having that. And again, if they're having something seasonal, that will also be better, because again, the thing is, in fruits they have fiber, so it again will not cause the sudden surge of blood glucose levels. Now this is considering they're doing a moderate to high intensity workout, and not for if they are only going to do a low intensity workout.
Got it. Okay, thank you so much. Before jumping into post-workout, I think everyone would want to know about this is protein supplements. You get a lot of questions about if should I be having protein supplements. If I do, when is the right time to have a protein supplement? I'm a vegetarian, I cannot have the other protein, so should I go for a protein supplement? So like the questions are never ending on that regard, right? So I want to know your take on protein supplements for a person who's not an athlete, is just trying regular day-to-day exercises, be it vegetarian or non-vegetarian. What would you suggest? Like, should they be starting on a protein supplement?
Okay, so let's say it is somebody who's just trying to maintain their lifestyle, to have a, not a sedentary lifestyle, and they're just going to work out for, let's say, 1 hour. Even if they're going to work out for 5 days in a week or 6 days in a week, and if they're training only for 1.5 hours, protein supplements, I would say it's not really necessary, as long as they have a balanced diet for throughout the day. Okay, so if throughout the day they are able to meet whatever is their RDA requirements, that is your recommended daily allowance, if they are able to meet that, they do not have to have an extra amount of protein from supplemental form. Now, yes, having protein after workout is important. Okay, but again, that can be included in the form of natural foods. Now, I'm not going to say natural foods first and supplements are not great. Let's say, for example, somebody is traveling. Okay, they did their gym and they have to travel 1 hour to get to their home. Okay, so in that case, it is beneficial if they are going to have a kind of supplement, because you can start topping up your energy, you can start topping up your nutrient intakes in that case. So let's say somebody who's traveling to a different city, somebody who is, has to travel back home to get back home. In those cases, yes, supplements can be beneficial. But then again, when they look at supplements, they have to make sure that it is not, let's say, something that has a lot of claims on it. So something, if they're okay with having whey protein, is something that's very tolerable, unless they have some kind of milk intolerances. Or if they are a vegan, then in that case also they cannot have whey protein. But otherwise, whey protein is a standard protein that you can start off with. Okay, but again, if it has a lot of claims, what are the ingredients is something that has to be looked into.
Okay, got it. So, okay. Now, take a protein supplement. It says have 2 scoops of this much in this much water. They give you the directions for it. Is
Yeah.
it okay for a normal individual to start with that stronger dosage? This is something I have always had a doubt with, right? Isn't it better to start slow and then increase the thing, or do you just jump into like you can have 2 scoops from day one?
No, so like I said, so even for a pre-workout meal, if you're having difficulties in starting to have like a scoop of, or let's say a handful of nuts, or when it is difficult for you to have like a peanut butter toast, like, or like, let's say, for example, if tomorrow is when you're going to start having a pre-workout, you're going to find it difficult. Similarly, if you were to just start having 2 scoops or 3 scoops, that's going to increase the load on your digestive system. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend starting with that high dose. And again, the thing is, since you are just a recreational or trying to maintain an active physical activity, you do not need the amount of protein that is labeled on those supplements. Those supplements are actually catered, or they have been made with athletes in mind, or people who are having, let's say, for example, 2 to 3 hours of sessions or multiple sessions in a day. That is when that much protein could be helpful. But then, yes, to answer your question, I wouldn't recommend starting off with those 2 scoops and 3 scoops right away, because you will have to give your stomach time to adjust to the new routine that you're adding in. So let's say start off with the amount of protein that you would naturally have in your food, and then you can slowly start increasing.
Got it. Thank you. Well, I needed to hear that. Is there any other supplements, like other than proteins, that are like, I have seen people having creatine supplements, right? Like L-creatinine or something of that sort, before their workouts, where they're only working out for 1 hour, basically. So in those conditions, is there any other supplements that can work? Even BCAA, I have seen that also being commonly used right now. Maybe the marketing is so good that it's spread all around at this point. So is there any other supplements that could be helpful at this point?
Okay, so the only supplement which I would say could actually give any sort of benefit for you during a workout would be something that has electrolytes in it. But that could even just be your ORS drink, or it could even just be your lime water with just sugar in it. Okay. The reason being, if you will be sweating, like if you're somebody who profusely sweats, then at that case, you need to make sure you're replenishing with electrolytes. But other than that, BCAA, now we don't even recommend it to the athletes, because if you see your whey protein or your protein supplements, they will have these BCAA present in it. Okay. So BCAA right now just gives a placebo effect and doesn't really help. Most of these other supplements that you see in the market, let's say, for example, L-carnitine or creatine, these are not things that a regular recreational athlete or a gym goer would require. Caffeine is something that is, let's say, that has a benefit. But then again, if it is just a 1 hour session, you don't have to have caffeine supplement as such. You could just have coffee as your pre-workout option. Include that along with your pre-workout option, and that should be enough for sustaining. Let's say, for example, you're going to do a resistance training at a higher intensity, and if you want to have that, more alert central nervous system, in that case, you can have caffeine. But other than that, I wouldn't recommend any other supplements at this stage.
Thank you. I actually want to open up the place for others to ask any questions, because I feel like you guys have more questions in this than me at this point. So any of you, any questions at any point that you have had cross your mind? So let me begin with one. I had a user today who said, like, she has a lunch by 2 and she workouts by 5. She does Zumba or yoga, and even though there is like a 1 o'clock of the lunch, there is like a 4 hour gap between her lunch and her workout. Irrespective, she has this very strong regurg feeling. Regurg meaning the food is coming back into your mouth after you have eaten, right? So within 4 hours the food should have been digested, but even then she's having that response. So she thought it's because of a pre-workout meal, so she stopped having that and instead added tried to do it without a pre-workout meal, and it still did not help. Is that something that can commonly happen?
So again, the thing is regurgitation that happens. Yes, we do see regurgitation or a lot of gastric or stomach problems when it comes to runners. Okay. The reason being, when you're going to work out, the blood flow is going to go to your muscles instead of going to your stomach to help with your digestion. So if you have had, let's say, your meal 4 hours prior, then you should probably look into the composition of the food. If that food is very rich in fat or very rich in fiber, which will actually prolong the time duration that's required for your digestion, then it can cause the regurgitation that happens. Okay. So when we talk about any pre-workout meal, we don't advise a lot of fiber or a lot of fat in the pre-workout meal. So if the meal is 4 hours prior, it is okay if they have a balanced meal. But after that, let's say 2.5 hour or 2 hours threshold, let's say if you have only 2 hours left for your workout, during that time, it wouldn't be ideal to have a lot of high fiber, high fat. So that will be one suggestions that I can give, which you can probably check if that is a reason, like, the composition of the meal. And the other thing would be to have a lower, try to have different types of pre-workout meals, so that she can find out what is a composition of pre-workout that is working for her. Because for not for everyone nuts will work, not for everyone toast will work. So you'll have to try and figure out. That is why at the 15-minute mark, you can even just have a fluid option. So you'll have to try and see what your body is accepting. And it will take at least, let's say, 2 weeks or something to figure out what option is working. So you'll have to have the option on multiple days, on multiple times, and then see how it works for you.
Got it. Thank you. Dr. Neha has asked a question. She's asked, I have thyroid and do get acidity issues frequently. What can I have for a pre-workout meal? I think this is a very common question for PCOS as well. There is very strong bloating and acidity responses. In those cases, what would you suggest?
Okay, so a pre-workout meal, what they could probably have is they can start with a fruit that is in the season that they are comfortable with. The other option would be if they are okay with having something in the liquid form, they could have like a thick shake, so they could have like fruit juices that is available. The other option that they can have, again, if it is something, if the fruit is an acidic in nature, then it might not suit them. They could even try with having, let's say, for example, the kind of food that they're commonly used to. So even if they're having a roll, a chapati roll, and curd, that is also something that can be helpful for them. Or let's say, for example, they can try and have these seeds, nuts and seeds trail mixes along with some dry fruits. So that is also another option that she can probably try.
Got it. All right, Neha, does that clear your question? Like, if you want any other clarification, it's just a few of us here. Please feel free to unmute and ask your questions. Okay, at any point, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm gonna, leave it to you guys. Even if it's regarding your regular PCOS queries that comes to your mind, please feel free to ask, because it's very hard to have like such one-on-one conversations which is outside of consult. So that's nice. Okay, there is one more question Spriti has asked. Is it compulsory to have pre-workout meal every time? That's a good question.
No, so it's not compulsory to have a pre-workout meal every time. So again, the thing is, over time, there is training adaptation that happens. Okay. So if you're used to having no pre-workout meal and you're able to sustain the workout, like complete the workout with full energy, then it is okay. You can continue with it. But let's say, for example, you're going to try something new or increase intensity. At that time, it could be beneficial if they have a pre-workout meal, or like I said, if the last meal that they had, if it is before, let's say, 3 to 4 hours prior, and they haven't had anything in between, in that case a pre-workout meal would be helpful. Another thing, making sure that they're adequately hydrated before their workout will be really helpful, because if they're going to start a workout in a dehydrated state, or if they haven't had adequate fluids before their workout, the chances of them being dehydrated throughout the workout is going to increase. So having some amount of fluids, making sure that you're hydrated enough would be that will be a compulsory factor.
Shreya has asked a question. Just give me 1 second, Shreya. I had it out. How much hydration do you need before a workout? Like, do you go with 1 glass of water, or there are conditions where people have one whole bottle of water in the morning and then go for their workout? What's the right amount of hydration that's required?
Okay, this might sound very silly, but what I do with my athletes is I ask them to check what is the color of their urine before they want to go to the workouts. Okay. And let's say, for example, if it is yellowish in color or slightly darker yellow in color, then I would ask them to start having at least 250 to 500 ml of water 1.5 hours prior. Like, they have to check at least 1.5 hours prior, and then start making sure that they are having at least 250 to 500 ml of water at a gap of, let's say, 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And then when they go for their workout, before that, because by that 1.5 hours, again, you will want to go to the washroom. At that time, if the color is pale yellow, or if it is neutral in color, in that case, yes, you are well hydrated enough. But if it is still pale yellow in color, if it is slightly darker yellow in color, have another 250 ml of water, and that should be fine. So there is no fixed amount that you should have 1 liter of water or 2 liters or half a liter of water. It basically depends on what is your body's current status. And then again, people who are used to having this 1 liter of water, they have trained their body in such a way to adapt to that. So for them, it might be okay. But for people who are going to start having 1 liter from tomorrow and then run, they might get stomach stitches. That is, they get cramps when they start running. So in that case, it's not advised. Another thing with regards to hydration is people don't have any water in between their workouts. So that is also not something that they need to do. They can have sips of water throughout their workout, especially if they are someone who sweats profusely.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So Shreya has asked, do stretching and warming is mandatory before starting workout, or one can directly start with cardio? That's a good question.
Okay, so this is a slightly, let's say, an exercise scientist sort of a question. But based on the knowledge that I have, I would say that it is necessary to start with a stretching before you do your any kind of workouts. The reason being that will help to, let's say, trigger your muscles in such a way to start taking up the load, because you're not going to do the same amount of activities that you will do when you're doing your workout. Okay, so if you're doing any kind of stretches, that kind of preps your muscles to take on what is going to come, and that will actually help with one, with recovery. Two, it'll make sure that your muscles are properly active and the correct muscles are actually functioning. One example that I would give is recently I started working with the physio in our department, and they tried to put me on some they tried showing me what are the different forms to do exercises. And once I was doing these activation sort of stretching, I could actually feel that it's not the usual muscles that I would get the pain. I would get it in like all those small muscles that are part of your legs, which if you're not doing an activation will not be part of your main exercise. So the adaptations will be different. So doing a active stretch before your workout will be really helpful.
Great. Nayanthara has asked what meals are good for post-workout recovery. That's all again very good
Something we
question.
missed out, yeah. So post-workout recovery, what you need is definitely some amount of protein and some amount of carbohydrates. Protein to help with the muscle recovery, and carbohydrates to again make sure that this protein is going to go into your muscles and to maintain your blood glucose. Okay, so anything that is even just to start off with, you can just have a Greek yogurt and a fruit. You can have, let's say, if you don't have access to a natural food, and what you can carry is like a protein bar. Even a protein bar is fine. You could start with a egg omelette with toast, or you could have like a sandwich on which some lean protein is placed, let's say for example a fish or a chicken. Okay, or if you're vegetarian, a paneer sandwich or a paneer roll, or any kind of, if you have the option to straight away have a proper meal after your workout. Let's say you're going to work out around 7 o'clock, and like no, let's say you finish your workout around 7:30, and then you're going to go for your dinner. You can actually straight away have your dinner. Instead of having a separate post-workout meal, you just have to make sure that there is adequate amount of protein in that dinner.
What if they work out in the morning and given that we have yoga classes starting from 6:30, and someone is doing 6:30 to 7:30 to yoga, and their breakfast probably is by 8:30, right? So is that a good enough gap, or how fast should you be having your pre-workout, a post-workout meal?
Okay, so let's say somewhere around 15 minutes after your workout, because again, after your workout, you kind of give time for your body to cool down. Anywhere from that 15 minutes to the next 2 hours, you can have your post workout. It is not necessary to have it at the very next second after finishing your workout. Anywhere between that 15 to 2 hours is okay. But it's not ideal to go beyond that 2 hour, because you kind of miss that first window that you get for your post workout. So the recovery that happens after a workout can be there till the next 48 hours. So it's not just the post workout you have immediately after. You have to make sure that the rest of the meals are also balanced in nature.
Kritika has asked, I'm having dinner by 8 p.m. and in the morning with an empty stomach, I'm starting to do my regular household works. After some time, I feel dizzy. What can I have quickly to avoid this? Even that's a huge workout. So yes.
Yeah. So again, it if she is having her dinner by 8 p.m. and she's going to start her morning on an empty stomach, okay, the most easiest thing or something that I see that, most commonly people who are working at home, people who are working from home, what they usually have is, let's say, soaked nuts. Okay. If you don't have any other pre-existing conditions which deny you or which doesn't allow you from having those nuts, you can have soaked nuts. Okay. Or the other option is you can have, even if you're allowed to have milk, you can have a glass of milk tea with, let's say, one or two biscuits or toast or rusks. Okay. So that is also another option. So something that can give the sudden energy of glucose is what is needed for you to not feeling that dizziness. Okay. So another thing is, again, make sure you're having enough water, because if you had your dinner by 8 o'clock and if you sleep early, again, water can be something that's missing from your body. So dehydration could be a reason why you are feeling the dizziness, because again, you're not having adequate water. So make sure you have adequate water. Soaked nuts is one option. A cup of tea or coffee along, or even just milk along with a toast or a biscuit or a sandwich, that is also an option. Another thing that you can have is, if you're okay with having fruits, that is an option. If you're okay with having like a cucumber in the morning while you're preparing your food, that is also another option. And if as soon as your food is ready, try to make sure that you're having your breakfast by then.
I hope that answers your question, Kritika. Very well said as well. Also, Kritika, I have already told you to add nuts. I'm sad that you're not adding it. Okay. Shreya has asked, do protein supplements help in muscle strengthening, and what can be done for the stiffness of muscle?
Okay. So again, the pre-workout stretching is important because it helps with reducing the stiffness of the muscles. Okay. Because if you're activating your muscle using stretches before your workout, so actually have stretching is there done before and after your workout, right? So before your workout, it's usually the activation of the muscles, and after your workout is where you're going to stretch and relax the muscles. So one of the options that you can do to reduce the stiffness is making sure you do a foam rolling. So foam rolling is something that will help to relax the muscles. That is one option. The other option with regards
Explain
to
what foam
nutrition,
rolling is.
foam roller is actually this round roll, okay, which actually on which you kind of slide on it. Okay, that'll actually help to kind of, it's a sort of a massaging technique that happens with your muscles, and that is something you can do it on your own. You just need a foam roller, and what you do is you lie on top of it. Whichever muscles you want to massage, you just try moving it up and down. Okay, if you can give me a second, I can show you what a foam roller is. There are two different types. There's a plain foam roller and a spiked one. So it's just your muscle after, and this is done after your work. What you can do for reducing muscle stiffness is making sure that you are taking in adequate water and adequate electrolytes. These are two things that can cause muscle stiffness. Protein supplements will help with muscle strengthening, but it doesn't really help with reducing muscle stiffness. Okay. So having adequate carbohydrates, fluids, and electrolytes will help with reducing muscle stiffness, along with the stretching and foam rolling exercises. And then, yes, again, do protein supplements help in muscle strengthening? Actually, it's protein that is going to help with muscle strengthening. You don't necessarily have to take a supplement. If you're just going to have, let's say, 15 to 20 grams of protein from your diet, that is also enough. Or like I said, if you're not in a position to have your protein food like a balanced meal after your workout, in that case, yes, you can have a protein rich food. But then again, if you're able to have a food in that 15 to 2 hour window period, that is also enough. But yes, protein does and is very important for the muscle strengthening.
Great. Shreya, I hope that answers your question. One last question. If someone is a vegetarian and given PCOS is a hormonal imbalance, I try to keep them away from soy a lot. In that condition, first of all, a lot of protein supplements come with soy isolates. So even if you go for a vegan one which does not have soy isolates and pea protein, okay, that's one option. Second thing, sprouts is one option that I suggest. Pulses is something that I suggest. Anything else is there in the game that you can, even dairy is contraindicated in PCOS for many cases. So in those things where most of the things are getting eliminated as is, in that case, can protein supplement be an option?
Okay, so in that case, again, let's say, for example, you're following a veganist sort of a diet, not just because that's the lifestyle you choose, or for some medical restrictions, you have to follow something that's very close to vegan. In that case, yes, if you can get BCAA and if you can get a vegan source of protein, that will be helpful. So the reason why I have said yes for BCAA in a vegan situation is BCAA is something that's found more in concentration in animal sources of protein. Okay, so if you're going to take a vegan source, they will tend to have a lower amount of BCAA, and BCAA definitely is important for muscle recovery and muscle strengthening. It's just that when you're taking an animal source of food and when you're following even just having, let's say, non-vegetarian food options in your diet, you do not have to take branch chain amino acids. Okay, but in a vegan condition, BCAA is can be helpful because it'll help to so there is this one amino acid in it which is very important for the protein synthesis in the body. Okay, so if you're a vegan and if you're taking that, that will help to make sure that your muscle synthesis is in proper level. And otherwise, yes, the protein supplements will help. Like the pea protein is one of the options that is there if you're following a vegan sort of a diet. And otherwise, right now there are research going on to figure out about potato protein, and there is protein going on. Yeah, there's a lot of research on the supplements that can be made in a vegan form. So yes, supplements will be helpful for somebody who has a lot of diet restrictions.
Great, got it. Potato protein is interesting. I want to read about that. All right. Okay. I think that was my own question. Any other questions, guys? I had one pop up in my head when you were saying something, and I cannot remember it now. So what is a good time to have a protein supplement? Would you recommend it that it goes before a workout, after a workout, or it can be a meal replacement? This is a question I get as well. Like when they're trying to lose weight, they are like, can I replace a certain meal with protein supplement so that I can cut down on that much carbs, right? So is that a possibility?
So again, after your workout, you definitely need some amount of carbohydrates. Okay, even if it is just let's say one chapati or like 2 pieces of bread, or a quantity that small, even that much is very essential. Okay, so if you're going to have a protein supplement, make sure you have some amount of carbohydrates along with it. And yes, that can be used as a meal replacement if they're planning to go for a lower amount of calorie intake in that particular day. But otherwise, skipping carbohydrates is not something that's really beneficial for your post-workout. Even if you skip that on your pre-workout, it is still something you can compensate with your post-workout, but not if you skip it in both the times. So you need to have some amount of carbohydrates in their diet. But yeah, it can be a replacement for their the meal that they have after their workout.
Great. Shreya has decided to pick our brains completely, and I'm very happy about that. So for a PCOD, how one should plan their workout? 5 to 7 days, 5 or 7 days. How much cardio, HIIT, strength? What's your take on it? I have my own take on it. So what's yours?
So my take on would be that you need to do more amount of strengthening exercises. You need to do more amount of high intensity exercises than you focusing on a cardio. Okay. So let's say, for example, even if you're going to do a lot of strengthening exercises, your pre-workout warm-up will include some amount of cardio, which will help to increase your heart rate. Okay. So cardio is something for your let's say your respiratory system and your cardio, that is for your lungs and your hearts, right? So that is something that you can start with a pre-workout run. So if you do like a 2 lap of, let's say, I don't know, like 500 to 1,000 meters run, if you're doing just before your workout, even that is actually enough for the cardio. So I'm saying if you will have to alternate it. Okay, do the like warm up, and then you do the strength training, and then again on the next day probably you can give focus to cardio, and then you can go for a lower amount of strength training or a HIIT. So one thing is you have to kind of make sure you're bringing in variety into your workouts. So if you do the same thing every day, again your body gets adapted very easily to whatever you do. Okay, so if you keep doing it on the same level, your body will just start playing okay, because that's what happens. Like initially you will see some changes that you're looking forward to, and then later on that stops. So that's because your body gets adapted. So if one day you're focusing on cardio, next day you focus on the strength training, the next day you can probably do a mix of that, like you can do a CrossFit or you can do a yoga. Okay, so that is how you should probably do it. Don't put everything together on one day, because that is going to strain your body more. Okay, if you're going to do a lot of things, that will strain your body more and you might not get the same benefit. Because if you're going to do a run, and then if you're going to supposed to do something with your muscles are already tired from doing the run. Okay, so you will not be able to do that benefit like with the same effort when you mix both the things. That is why it's important to make sure you're focusing only on one kind of activity, and preferably one kind of body part, maybe the lower body part or the core or the upper body. So that will actually help. So that'll be my general advice, because I am doing like I'm probably, I can say that I am expert in the sports nutrition field, but this again becomes exercise prescription, which I'm not an expert in. So this is a general guideline that I can probably give you.
Okay. Thank you, Shreya, for being so interactive. Everyone who asked a question and everyone who attended, thank you so much for it. I think it's time we can end the session. Ansa, thank you so much for joining and being so, answering all the questions so accurately, and having just feeling free to share your knowledge with us. That is really helpful. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. Bye-bye.